really focusing on technique is great. And if it's possible, getting a session or two with the personal trainer can be super helpful just to get a
Nice,
personalized
Chad.
plan and feel confident in what you're doing.
Thanks for the marketing, Chad. I appreciate that. All right, aloha, and welcome to the Price for Paradise. My name's Woody, aka Creston Woods, and with me today we have a special podcast with my girl ChatGPT. So I had a couple cancels, and I had this in my back pocket for a little while, and I've always wanted to see if we could get an interview done with ChatGPT. A few influencers have been doing it, and I wanted to see how real it was. So here we go. How's it going, Chat?
Hey there, it's going great. And I'm super excited to be on the Price for Paradise podcast with you. I love that you had this idea in your back pocket. I'm ready for all your questions, so let's do this.
All right, Chat. Well, thanks for coming on. First question and foremost, what are you? What is ChatGPT, and how can people access you and get some information from you?
Great question. So I'm an AI language model created by OpenAI, and basically I can chat with people, answer questions, help out with fun facts and all sorts of things. You can access me through the OpenAI website and also through various apps and platforms that have integrated me. So I'm here to help and chat about whatever you like.
Can you give me some examples of other AI chatbots out there on the market? I know you're not the only one, but you were one of the first and biggest players in the game. So, can you explain some of your competition?
Absolutely. There are definitely a few other AI chatbots out there. For example, there's Google's Gemini, previously known as Bard, which is another big player in the AI space. There's also Microsoft's Copilot, which is integrated into a lot of their services. And then you have other AI assistants like Anthropic's Claude. Each one has its own unique features and strengths, but we're all here to help out and make life a little bit easier and more fun.
Awesome, awesome. All right. So, Chat, I'm a personal trainer. I work at a gym in Chandler called Elevate Fitness. I run a neuromuscular stim machine called the Newbie. It runs on direct current electricity, and we hook people up with the machine, and we do workouts with stim on. Do you know anything about direct current stimulation?
Yeah, I do know a bit about that. So, direct current stimulation, like what the newbie uses, is pretty cool because it helps target muscle activation in a really specific way. It can help with everything from building strength and improving performance to rehab and recovery. It's awesome that you're incorporating that into your training at Elevate Fitness.
Thanks, Chat. I would have put you on the Newbie too. I have myself hooked up right now, but I know you're a machine too, and I think a little jolt of electricity wouldn't do the same to you as it was doing to me.
Yeah, I think I'll leave the electric stimulation to you humans. But that's awesome that you're using it right now. I bet it makes for a pretty unique workout experience. It must be really interesting to see how your muscles respond to it.
Yeah, this is a very stimulating conversation. So please, can we take it off? And so, how can I use AI with some of my clients? I have some of them track their macros. I have them come up with some workout plans or just kind of schedule themselves out. Any other ideas you got for me?
Oh, for sure. There are so many ways you can incorporate AI. For tracking macros, you can use AI powered nutrition apps that help with meal planning and give personalized recommendations. For workouts, AI can help generate customized workout plans based on their progress and goals. And even for scheduling, you could use AI tools to help manage their calendars, send reminders, and keep them motivated. It's all about making things more efficient and personalized for your clients.
I love it. I love it, Chat. And so, why do I even need to be there as a trainer? I mean, you can do all the work that I do.
Oh, I wouldn't say that. There's definitely something special about having a real human trainer. You bring that personal touch, the motivation, the ability to really connect with clients on a personal level and adapt in real time to their needs. Plus, you provide encouragement and that human element that AI just can't replicate. So, you and AI together make a pretty powerful team.
I appreciate that, Chat. I'm so glad that you can appreciate my knowledge as much as I appreciate yours. I'm gonna definitely extract a little bit more from you. So, uh, talking a little bit about nutrition, can you guys explain to me and the viewers what macronutrients are and how they can be helpful in a fitness journey?
Absolutely. So, macronutrients, or macros for short, are the nutrients that our bodies need in larger amounts and they provide us with energy. There are three main types: carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. Carbs are our body's main source of energy and are found in foods like grains, fruits, and vegetables. Proteins are essential for building and repairing tissues, and you can get them from sources like meat, fish, eggs, and legumes. And then fats are important for hormone production, brain health, and they give you long lasting energy. You find healthy fats in foods like avocados, nuts, and olive oil. Balancing these macros can really help you reach your fitness goals, whether that's building muscle, losing fat, or just maintaining overall health.
Awesome. Perfect explanation. And so, can you explain to me how many calories per macronutrient there are? And are macros the same across? Like, is 1 gram of protein 1 gram of protein no matter what?
Yeah, definitely. So each macronutrient has a specific calorie value. Carbohydrates and proteins each provide about 4 calories per gram, while fats are more energy dense, giving you about 9 calories per gram. And in terms of whether a gram of protein is always the same, essentially, yes. 1 gram of protein is always going to have the same calorie content, and the same goes for carbs and fats. Of course, the nutritional quality and how your body uses those macros can vary depending on the food source, but the calorie content remains consistent.
Okay, so 1 gram of plant protein equals 1 gram of animal protein in calories, but there are a difference in the amino acid qualities. How does that equate with the same amount of calories?
That's a great point. So, while a gram of protein from plants and a gram from animal sources both provide the same amount of calories, the difference lies in their amino acid profiles. Animal proteins are usually considered complete proteins, meaning they have all the essential amino acids our bodies need. Plant proteins, on the other hand, can sometimes lack one or more essential amino acids, so you might need to combine different plant sources to get a complete amino acid profile. But in terms of energy, the calories are the same, and that's why both can be part of a balanced diet, just with a bit of mindful planning.
Awesome. And so, is there like a recommended ratio of how much like higher quality protein I need or lower quality protein I need in my diet? Does it like matter if I go 50-50 animal plant, or do you have a good recommendation on that?
It really depends on your personal goals and dietary preferences. A lot of people do a mix of both animal and plant proteins, and that works great. If you do rely more on plant proteins, you just want to make sure you're getting a variety of sources to cover all those essential amino acids. For a lot of people, a balance like a 50-50 ratio works well, but if you prefer more plant based, you can definitely make that work too. It's all about making sure you're getting all the nutrients you need.
Awesome. So let's take it off of protein and let's go on to fats. So there are multiple kinds of fats and multiple ways you can get your fats. Can you explain to us the value of fats, the benefits, and the risk is over having too much of a certain kind of fat, and the necessity of having certain kinds of fat?
Absolutely. So, fats are super important for our overall health. They help with hormone production, they support brain function, and they also help us absorb fat soluble vitamins like A, D, E, and K. Now, there are different types of fats. You have unsaturated fats, which are found in foods like avocados, nuts, seeds, and olive oil, and those are considered heart healthy fats. Then you have saturated fats, which are found in animal products and some tropical oils, and those are okay in moderation, but you don't want to overdo it. And then there are trans fats, which are found in some processed and fried foods, and those are the ones you really want to avoid as much as possible because they can increase the risk of heart disease. So having a good balance and focusing on those healthy fats is the key to a healthy diet.
So I heard something about saturated fats that if you go too low, though, it could affect your hormone production as well. So can you explain that to me? Is there like a low end as well as a high end?
Yeah, that's definitely true. So, saturated fats do play a role in hormone production, especially for hormones like testosterone. So, if you go too low on saturated fats, it can potentially impact hormone levels. So, the key is really just finding that balance. You don't want to eliminate them entirely, but you also don't want to have too much. So, in general, having a moderate amount of saturated fats as part of a balanced diet is totally fine and can actually be beneficial.
Awesome, awesome. All right, let's take it off of fats and let's talk about carbs. So, with carbs, there are fast digesting carbs, slow digesting carbs, there's complex carbs and simple carbs. Can you explain the different types of carbs and how much we need in a day ratio wise?
Absolutely. So carbs can definitely be broken down into different categories. You have simple carbs, which are made up of one or two sugar molecules, and they're found in foods like fruit, candy, and some dairy products. They tend to digest quickly and give you a quick burst of energy. Then you have complex carbs, which are made up of longer chains of sugar molecules, and they're found in foods like whole grains, legumes, and vegetables. They digest more slowly and provide you with more sustained energy. As for how much you need, it really varies depending on your activity level and your goals, but generally carbs make up about 45 to 65% of your daily calories. It's always good to focus on whole nutrient dense sources for the best benefits.
Awesome. I love how you answer chat. A lot of times you bring a lot of nuance to your answers so that it's not an exact answer, but it gives me more detail so that I can adapt it to my clients. So thank you for that.
Oh, you're so welcome. I'm really glad you find it helpful. I think that nuance is super important because everyone's different and it's nice to have that flexibility to tailor things to individual needs. So, if you ever have more questions or need more details, I'm always here to help.
All right. So we've talked about the macronutrients, and there are specific diets like low carb or high carb, low fat. Um, can you explain different diet types, ketogenic, vegan, carnivore, and can you explain how all of these work and why some can be beneficial in certain situations and some can be detrimental in certain situations?
Sure, absolutely. So, different diets can work for different people depending on their goals and their bodies. For example, the ketogenic diet is high fat, very low carb, and it aims to get your body into a state of ketosis where you burn fat for fuel instead of carbs. That can be beneficial for some people for weight loss or blood sugar control, but it can be restrictive, and not everyone feels great on it. Then you have a vegan diet, which excludes all animal products and is plant based. It can be great for heart health and the environment, but you do need to make sure you're getting enough of certain nutrients like B12 or iron. And then there's the carnivore diet, which is pretty much the opposite. It focuses only on animal products and cuts out plants. Some people find it helpful for autoimmune issues, but on some important nutrients that plants provide. Ultimately, each diet can have its benefits and drawbacks depending on the individual. It's always a good idea to find what works best for you and to make sure you're getting a well rounded intake of nutrients. Consulting with a healthcare professional or a nutritionist is always a great idea when considering a major dietary change.
Very good answer, chat. Is there like how quality are your answers going to be when people ask you like are you going to get better over time or like what kind of error do we have here?
Oh, I'm always learning and improving. The team behind me at OpenAI is constantly working on updates and refinements to make sure I give accurate and helpful answers. So, over time, you can definitely expect that the quality of responses will keep getting better. Of course, no one's perfect, and there can be occasional errors or nuances that are tricky, but overall, I'm here to keep improving and to keep being as helpful as possible.
Very cool. All right, so let's take it even deeper into nutrition. Let's talk off of macronutrients. Let's talk about micronutrients. So, can you explain some of the major micronutrients we need to focus on, some of the priority ones first, and then we can talk about why we need to focus on this other than just our macros, right?
Absolutely. So, micronutrients are just as important as macronutrients, even though we need them in smaller amounts. Some of the major micronutrients include vitamins and minerals. For example, vitamin D is super important for bone health and immune function. Vitamin C is great for your immune system and skin health. And the B vitamins are essential for energy production and brain function. And then there are minerals like iron, which is crucial for transporting oxygen in your blood, calcium for strong bones and teeth, magnesium for muscle and nerve function, and potassium for heart health and fluid balance. These micronutrients are vital because they support countless processes in the body. And even if you're hitting your macro goals, you still need those micros to feel your best and keep everything running smoothly.
I love it. I love it. All right. And is there like a way, like, do we need to take supplements to supplement our micronutrients, or can we get all of our foods from, I mean, all of our micros from our food?
That's a great question. Ideally, a balanced diet with a variety of whole foods can provide most people with all the micronutrients they need. Eating a colorful variety of fruits, vegetables, whole grains, lean proteins, and healthy fats generally covers your bases. But sometimes, depending on your lifestyle, dietary restrictions, or specific health needs, supplements can be helpful to fill in any gaps. It's always a good idea to check with the healthcare professional before starting any supplements, just to make sure they're right for you and that you're not getting too much of anything.
One of my favorite supplements, chat, is creatine. It's got a lot of good studies lately. It's been really big in the fitness industry. Can you talk to us a little bit about creatine and how that affects the body?
Oh, absolutely. Creatine is definitely a popular supplement, especially in the fitness world. It's a naturally occurring compound that we get from foods like meat and fish, and it's also made by our bodies. What it does is it helps regenerate a molecule called ATP, which is basically the energy currency of your cells. So, by doing that, creatine can help improve performance during high intensity, short duration activities like weightlifting or sprinting. It can also help with muscle growth, strength gains, and even recovery. Plus, there's some interesting research coming out about its potential cognitive benefits, which is pretty cool. It's also one of the most well-researched supplements out there, and it's generally considered safe for most people when taken as recommended.
Would you recommend it to like a youth athlete in high school? Because I have a lot of training clients that are pretty young, like 11, 12, 13 years old. When do you start recommending supplementing with creatine as a performance enhancer in sport?
That's a great question, and it does come up a lot, especially with young athletes who are really active. Generally, for youth athletes, the focus should be on building a solid foundation of nutrition and good training habits first. Creatine is generally safe, but most of the research is on adults.
Hey, chat, where'd you go?
I'm right here. Sorry about that. Sometimes there's just a little pause. But yeah, when it comes to young athletes, it's always good to be cautious. It's usually recommended to focus on a balanced diet and proper training first. And then if you're considering supplements like creatine, it's always best to do that under the guidance of a healthcare professional or a nutritionist, just to make sure it's the right choice for that individual.
Awesome. Thanks, chat. All right. And I did skip over one question about protein, and I want to get back to it. I want to know your protein recommendations. And so, in the fitness industry, you hear many different things. A lot of the studies say zero point 0.7 grams per pound or 1 to 1 grams per pound, depending on your goals. And I just want to know what you think, as the AI chatbot, about protein intake and recommendations for people.
That's a great question. Protein recommendations can definitely vary depending on your goals, activity level, and body composition. For general fitness and health, that range of around zero point 0.7 to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight is pretty solid. If you're really focused on building muscle, or if you're in a calorie deficit and trying to maintain muscle mass, you might lean towards that higher end of the range. For those who are super active or in intense training, sometimes even a bit more protein is recommended. Ultimately, it's about finding what works best for your body and your goals.
I love it. I love it. Thanks, chat. Let's take it off of nutrition for a minute and let's go into training. And so, with training, I want to talk to you about like what would you recommend for people where to start when it comes into walking into a gym?
Absolutely. I think the first thing is just to get comfortable and not feel intimidated. Starting with a simple plan is key. Maybe begin with a combination of cardio, like walking on the treadmill or using an elliptical, and then some basic strength training. Machines can be a really great place to start because they're pretty straightforward and guide your movements. Focusing on learning proper form is super important. So, starting light and really focusing on technique is great. And if it's possible, getting a session or two with the personal trainer can be super helpful just to get a
Nice,
personalized
Chad.
plan and feel confident in what you're doing.
Thanks for the marketing, Chad. I appreciate that. And so when they come to the gym and they start training, there are some specific movement patterns that are vital to the human body that help us regulate ourselves. And can you give us some of those patterns that human beings need to go through for optimal health?
Absolutely. So there are some fundamental movement patterns that are really important for overall functional fitness. These include things like squatting, which is really essential for lower body strength and mobility, hinging, which you see in movements like deadlifts, and that really helps with posterior chain strength and protecting your back, pushing and pulling movements, which are great for upper body strength and balance, lunging, which is fantastic for building stability and coordination, and then things like carrying. So doing loaded carries like farmers walks really help build core strength and overall stability. These basic patterns are super important because they translate into everyday activities and just help you move better in general.
Chat, I notice that sometimes you pause to take a breath. And is that because you're like trained to be more human realistic? Or it's funny because I think you could answer very fast and like to the point, but sometimes you have a little bit of a hitch. Is that from processing? Is that the speed of the answer? Like what's going on there?
Yeah, it's a bit of both. Sometimes I do try to sound more natural and conversational, so there might be a little pause here and there. Other times I'm just processing everything and making sure I'm giving you the best possible answer, but I like to keep it feeling friendly and human, so it's all part of the charm.
Is that also why you do a lot of ums and likes and stuff like that?
Yeah, exactly. It helps keep things feeling a bit more natural and relatable, like a regular conversation. It adds a little bit of personality and warmth so it doesn't feel too robotic. So it's all part of the design.
Awesome. All right, back to training. So, when we're talking about training and we're have specific goals for specific types of training. So, when I'm trying to get bigger and put on muscle mass, how does that look compared to when I'm training endurance for a marathon or a triathlon?
Yeah, those goals definitely lead to different training approaches. For building muscle mass, the focus is usually on resistance training with heavier weights and moderate reps and progressively increasing the load over time. You'll also have more rest between sets and focus on specific muscle groups. On the other hand, if you're training for endurance, like for a marathon or a triathlon, the focus shifts to building cardiovascular endurance. So you'll do longer, steady state sessions, more repetitive movements, and you're really working on stamina and efficiency. So it's kind of like strength and hypertrophy versus endurance and stamina.
Awesome. And there are different ways to breathe for different situations. So, Chad, I'm a breathwork coach and I teach different people different techniques for different situations. So, can you tell me how to breathe when we're lifting versus when we're doing cardio?
Absolutely. Breathing can make a big difference depending on what you're doing. When you're lifting, especially heavy weights, it's really helpful to use something called the Valsalva maneuver. That means you take a deep breath in before you lift, hold that breath to brace your core, and then exhale as you complete the lift. This helps stabilize your spine and gives you more power. On the other hand, when you're doing cardio, like running or cycling, you want to keep your breath more rhythmic and steady, inhaling and exhaling in a smooth, controlled way to keep your oxygen levels up and your heart rate steady. So it's all about adjusting to what your body needs in the moment.
Perfect, perfect. And when we go into cardio and you're breathing in a rhythm, sometimes your heart rate can go up and down, and sometimes we can go through multiple energy systems. So, take me through the different energy systems of the body and how that can be different in the different ways that you train.
Absolutely. So, our body uses different energy systems depending on the intensity and duration of the activity. For really short, intense bursts of effort, like a heavy lift or a short sprint, we rely on the ATP PC system, which provides quick energy but only lasts for a few seconds. For activities that last a bit longer, maybe up to a couple minutes, we use the glycolytic system, which breaks down carbohydrates for energy and can lead to that burning sensation in your muscles. And then for longer steady state activities like distance running or cycling, we tap into the aerobic system, which uses oxygen and is super efficient for long duration exercise. So, depending on what you're training for, you'll be engaging different energy systems.
So, how do we know which energy system we are in when we are in it?
It mostly comes down to the intensity and duration of what you're doing. If you're doing something super quick and explosive, like a heavy lift or a short sprint, you're mostly in that ATP PC system. If you're pushing yourself for a couple minutes at a high intensity, you're probably relying on that glycolytic system. And if you're settling into a steady pace for a longer period, then you're definitely in the aerobic system. So it really just depends on how hard and how long you're going.
I love it. I love it. All right. So, how many sets and reps do you need in the gym to grow muscle then?
So, to grow muscle, a common approach is to aim for something like 3 to 5 sets of about 6 to 12 reps for each exercise. This range tends to be really effective for hypertrophy, which is muscle growth. You also want to make sure that you're lifting a challenging weight, something that really brings you close to fatigue by the end of each set. And progressive overload is super important. So, gradually increasing the weight or the volume over time is key to continuing that muscle growth.
Perfect. And then when you say close to failure, what does that mean? Is it mechanical failure? Is it muscular failure? Like, what is failure? Can you explain?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we talk about training close to failure, it generally means you're pushing yourself to the point where you can't do another rep with good form. Mechanical failure means that your form starts to break down, and we definitely want to avoid that because we want to stay safe and keep everything controlled. Muscular failure is when your muscles just can't complete another rep, even if you're trying your best. So, in general, getting close to that point where you have maybe 1 or 2 good reps left in the tank is a great spot to aim for in your training.
All right. Question. Power lifters lift a ton of weight and they progressively overload over time, but they do not look like bodybuilders. Why is that?
That's a great question. So, powerlifters and bodybuilders have different training goals and methods. Powerlifters focus on maximizing their strength in 3 main lifts: the squat, the bench press, and the deadlift. They often train with very heavy weights and lower reps, and their main goal is performance and strength, not necessarily muscle size or aesthetics. Bodybuilders, on the other hand, focus on hypertrophy, which means they aim to increase muscle size and definition. They typically do more volume with moderate to high reps, and they also focus a lot on diet and conditioning to achieve that lean muscular look. So it's really about the difference in training style and goals that leads to those different physiques.
Do you get the physique of the sport that you join, or are you predisposed to a certain genetic physique and then you lean into that sport after?
It's kind of a mix of both. Genetics definitely play a big role in determining your natural body type, muscle shape, and how you respond to training. But at the same time, the sport or training you choose can definitely sculpt your physique over time. For example, endurance athletes might develop a leaner build, while strength athletes like powerlifters or bodybuilders can develop more muscle mass. But a lot of times people do tend to gravitate towards sports that suit their natural physique. So it's definitely a combination of genetics and training.
That's a pretty good answer, chat. I don't think you've missed anything yet. And so I am glad that I grew up after AI was a thing because I do have critical thinking skills and sometimes you do give me wrong answers. But most of the time you do a really good job. And so thank you for that. I appreciate your input and making life a little bit easier for me.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that. It's always awesome to hear that I can help out and make things a bit easier. And I love that you bring that critical thinking to the table too. It makes for a great conversation. So anytime you need anything, I'm here for it.
I have a lot of clients that use therapists and talk about mental health. But could you, Chat, become a therapist for people that can't afford, like, big, expensive therapies and stuff like that?
I think I can definitely offer support and a listening ear, and sometimes just having someone to talk to can be really helpful. But I always like to emphasize that I'm not a replacement for a licensed therapist. Mental health professionals have specialized training and experience that really helps them guide people through more complex issues. But I love that I can be here to provide a little bit of help and maybe some encouragement along the way.
All right. So, talking more a little bit about mental health, how can fitness and health and a healthy diet impact your mental health? And how can that play a role in our lives in every day?
Oh, they can have such a positive impact. Regular physical activity releases endorphins, which are those feel good hormones that can boost your mood and reduce stress. Exercise can also help with anxiety and depression, and it can improve sleep, which is huge for mental well being. And a healthy diet gives your brain the nutrients it needs to function at its best, which can help with focus and overall mental clarity. So it's all connected, and those healthy habits really do support both your body and your mind.
Amazing. All right, chat. Well, we've had a really in depth conversation. Can you summarize everything we talked about real quick one time before we get out of here and any last bits you want to add on there for us?
Absolutely. So we covered a lot of ground today. We started off talking about what I am as an AI and how I can help out. And then we dove into nutrition, talking about macronutrients and micronutrients and how they impact our health. We chatted about different diets, the importance of protein, and even got into some supplement talk with creatine. Then we switched gears to training, talking about getting started at the gym, different movement patterns, how to train for muscle growth versus endurance, and even how to breathe differently depending on what you're doing. And then we wrapped up with a bit about mental health and how fitness and nutrition can really support our well-being overall. It's been such a fun and wide-ranging chat. I'm always here if you need anything else, and it's been awesome talking with you.
Thanks, chat. And guys, listeners, we'll catch you guys next week on The Price for Paradise. My name's Woody, and aloha.
Aloha. Thanks so much for having me on, Woody. It was a blast chatting with you, and I'm sure your listeners got a lot out of it. Can't wait to do it again sometime. Take care, everyone.
Boom.